I gifted a sedan at my sister's engagement dinner, only to be mocked as mid-range while her fiancé's family flaunted wealth. So I took back more than a car and left them guessing. I was the first one to arrive. I parked right in front of the restaurant under one of those tall glass windows that reflect everything back at you. It was one of those fancy places. Polished marble, waiters in vests, overpriced wine poured before you even sit down. I checked the car one last time. The ribbon was straight, the paint sparkled. The interior smelled like new leather. It wasn't luxury, but it was mine. Clean, reliable, new. A gift. Not because I had to, but because I wanted her to feel supported, celebrated, like someone in her life actually shows up. She's my younger sister, 8 years apart. She's loud, bright, a little chaotic, the type that makes reels during dinner and calls it a brand. But she's still my sister, and this was her engagement dinner. I walked inside. She was near the bar, glowing in a silver dress. Next to her was Jason, her fiancé, hair like a TV anchor, suit that probably can't be machine washed. Behind him, 3 friends with matching teeth, matching laughter, matching smirks. When they saw me, I walked up, handed her a small envelope and smiled. "Congrats, Emmy," I said. "Really, I'm happy for you." Then I pulled the second key from my jacket and held it out. "And this is yours," she blinked. "What is it? Come outside." We stepped into the parking lot. I clicked the button. The sedan lit up, beeping quietly. White, brand new, tied with a ribbon like something out of a movie. She gasped. "No way. Are you serious?" "Yeah," I said. "It's yours." She hugged me tight. That moment felt real. I thought I got it right. Back inside, she was showing off the keys, spinning them in her hand, smiling wide until one of Jason's friends leaned over and asked what she got. She pointed to the car out front. He blinked. "That mid-range sedan?" Another guy laughed. "My parents got us a condo in Marbella." Laughter, real cutting laughter. I looked at Emmy. She heard it. She could have said something, shut it down, defended me. Instead, she smirked and said, "If you don't like their jokes, you can just pay and leave." Silence. Then more laughter, louder this time. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a scene. I didn't call anyone out. I just stood up, reached for the keys in her hand, and took them back gently. She stared at me. "Are you serious?" I said, "No problem." Then I turned and walked out. No anger, no door slam, just me heading out into the night. I started the car, sat for a second, and looked in the rearview mirror. She was standing at the window, not smiling anymore. Then I drove. No music, no rage, just motion. Because sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all. The garage was quiet. I pulled in, killed the engine, and just sat there. The overhead light flickered once and went out. One of the ballasts must have gone again. I'd meant to fix it all week, but I'd been too busy trying to make everything perfect for someone else. There was dust on my boots, oil stains on my cuffs, grease under my fingernails, even after scrubbing. That's who I am. Not a showman, not a condo gifter, just the guy who stays late so someone else's car doesn't stall on the freeway. I'm not rich. I never said I was. But when she needed help, I showed up. When she got into college, Mom cried and Dad bragged, but neither of them offered to help with her dorm deposit. So, I did. First month, last month, plus the damage fee in case something broke. When her old Civic started stalling on cold mornings, I rebuilt the starter myself and didn't even charge for parts. When Jason lost his summer job 3 years ago, I let him work in my shop. He was late, careless, left a wrench inside a brake rotor once. I didn't say a word because she asked, because he was important to her. I paid for that sedan with $23,000 I'd been saving for a new lift. My current one wheezes every time it raises an SUV. It's a risk. But I thought maybe if I gave her something solid, something real, she'd feel grounded, supported, like someone in this family had her back without conditions. I never asked for thanks, not once. I didn't need her to post about it or tag me. I just wanted her to feel like she had someone in her corner, that's all. And now, silence. No text, no call, not even a "where'd you go?" Just nothing. Around 10 o'clock, I grabbed a beer from the office fridge and sat in the corner of the shop where the signal's best. I opened Instagram. I didn't mean to check her page, but my thumb knew the way. There it was. A perfect picture. Jason holding her waist, that ridiculous champagne tower behind them captioned, "True love brings gifts beyond price." She tagged the restaurant, Jason, the luxury realtor who sold his parents the beachfront condo, and she tagged the car, my gift, but the tag said, "Some people try, others deliver." My throat tightened. Then I saw the comments. One of Jason's friends, the one with a watch worth more than my rent, had commented, "Guess we dodged a lemon," with 8 laughing emojis. Another wrote, "Mid-range mindset, energy." Emmy had replied, "You guys are terrible." That was it. No defense, no correction, just giggles in emoji form over the only thing I ever gave that came with sacrifice. I turned off the screen and sat in the dark. Here's the part that hit hardest, not the joke, not the tag, not even the way she let them laugh at me. It was this. I knew she saw me leave that night. Knew she felt the keys slip from her fingers. Knew she watched the taillights vanish. And still, nothing. I gave her something I worked for, bled for, sweated over in 100-degree heat, and the only thing I got back was a caption. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a car, a dinner, or one terrible joke. This was about everything I let slide. Every time I swallowed the hurt to keep peace, every holiday where I gave and got silence. I closed the app, tossed my phone onto the tool bench, and whispered to the empty shop, "Never again." The next morning she woke up to silence. No beep outside, no car keys on the hallway table, no photos of the car on her story. She stepped outside. The spot was empty, just oil spots on the pavement. The sedan was gone. Within minutes, my phone lit up. First a call, then a text. "Hey, where's the car?" 10 minutes later, a voice note. I didn't play it. Then another. "Seriously, this is messed up. You can't just take back a gift." Then, all caps, I showed everyone that car. "You made me look stupid." I stared at the screen, didn't touch it, just let it buzz until it died. By that time, I was already at the dealership. It smelled like coffee, rubber mats, and fresh leather. The same salesman from last time blinked when he saw me. "Back already? Trade in?" I said, "This one's no longer serving me." He raised an eyebrow. "You know it loses a bit of value after leaving the lot." I tossed him the keys. And I know what gratitude's worth these days, so I'll take the real return. The car was still in showroom condition, under 100 miles, not a scratch. The paperwork was still in my name, the insurance too. I canceled the secondary policy I'd opened for her the week before, removed her as an authorized driver, and signed the transfer forms. Done. And what did I get in return? A new hydraulic lift. Brand new, quiet, safe. I stood over it as they unloaded it into my garage, ran my hand over the clean steel, pressed the button, and watched it glide up with a soft hum. This lift, I thought, will make more money than I ever got from their gratitude, and it'll never laugh at me. 2 days later, Mom showed up at the shop. She didn't call first, just walked in like she always did, straight past the office, hands on hips, scanning for ammunition. I didn't look up from the invoice I was reviewing. "Are you seriously going to let one comment ruin your sister's engagement?" she said. I kept writing. She was emotional. It was a party. People drank. You know how her fiancé's friends are. I turned to her. "This isn't about them," I said. "This is about her. And you, and the fact that when I left, not one of you called to ask why." She crossed her arms. "It was dramatic. You made a scene." I nodded slowly. Emotion is when someone doesn't thank you. This was calculation. She shifted, didn't like the stillness in my tone. "Well, the wedding's still happening," she said. "Like it or not. Jason's parents are helping with the venue. You don't have to support it, but don't sabotage it either." I looked her in the eyes. I already did my part. She blinked. Then she noticed the new lift. "What's that?" "My replacement for their respect," I said. "It actually holds weight." She left without another word. Later that evening, I closed the shop early, locked the main door, sat at my desk, and reached for the top shelf. There was an envelope, thick, slightly worn at the edges. Inside was the wedding fund I'd been adding to every month. Little by little, a few hundred from each paycheck. Some in cash, some in checks, $48,000, all for her, because I thought she'd remember who stood behind her before the condo, before the reels, before Jason. I looked at the envelope, then I thought about Grandpa. He used to take us fishing every summer, said it was the one place he could breathe. His dream was a small fishing boat of his own. Nothing fancy, just enough to fit 3 people and a radio that still played the oldies. He never bought it, said it wasn't practical. I drove to his house the next morning and sat with him on the porch. No big speech, I just handed him the envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "Your boat." He blinked. "You serious?" "I'm done giving to people who forget," I said. "You remembered everything." He opened the envelope slowly, hands trembling just a bit. His eyes widened, then teared. He looked at me, voice cracking. "You sure?" I nodded. He didn't say thank you, didn't need to. He just put a hand on mine. And that silence was the loudest thing I'd heard all year. I stood in the middle of the shop. No music, no voices, just the buzz of the overhead light and the hum of my thoughts. I didn't feel angry, didn't feel sad, just done. I walked back into the office, picked up the phone, and called the bank. It was an old joint account we opened when Dad said we needed a shared place for household emergencies. Emergencies, of course, meant everything from my sister's overdue phone bill to Mom's unexpected spa retreat. For 3 years, I paid into it. No one else did, not once. Electricity when theirs got cut, Groceries when I visited and saw an empty fridge, gift cards when Emmy forgot a birthday, and somehow I was expected to fix it. The woman on the other end confirmed my identity. Would you like to close the account entirely or just freeze it? Close it, I said. There are still 2 auto payments scheduled for this week. Cancel those too. A pause, then a soft click. Gone. It felt small, closing an account. Just numbers on a screen. But it felt like slicing the last thread of a rope I'd been carrying for too long. After that, I drove to Dad's place. I didn't check if he was home, didn't need a goodbye. I walked through the back gate, the old one I'd fixed twice. The garage still smelled like oil and sawdust. Inside, on the back shelf, was the metal cabinet he gave me when I turned 21. He said, "Every man needs a place to keep his tools and his secrets." I opened it. Everything was still there. The torque set, the impact wrench, the gloves with my initials burned in the leather, even the broken screwdriver I refused to throw out. One by one, I packed them into my duffel, methodical, calm. I left the cabinet open, left the door unlocked, left without a word. They'd know I came for what was mine. When I got back to the shop, my phone buzzed. A long text from Emmy. "I can't believe you'd sabotage my wedding. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Jason is furious. How dare you just walk out like that and make it about you? This is my moment. You never cared about me being happy." I stared at the screen, then typed 4 short lines. "I didn't sabotage anything. I just stepped out. You said if I didn't like it, I could leave. So I did. Sent." Then I went to contacts. Mom, Dad, Emmy, Jason, blocked all of them. I didn't feel triumphant, just still. The next day I opened the shop as usual, changed tires, adjusted brakes, listened to the local station's lunchtime playlist like nothing had changed, but everything had. 2 days later, Marco, a guy I used to work with, called. "Yo," he said, "you hear about the wedding?" "No. Apparently it's been delayed." That's the word they're using. I didn't answer. He kept going. "Jason's parents pulled out, said they were willing to help, but now they want him to fund the rest himself. Guess they're not fans of the family drama." Still silent. Marco laughed, uneasy. "You didn't say anything to them, right?" "I didn't say anything to anyone," I said. "Yeah, that's the part that's making them nervous." Click. Later that afternoon, Mom showed up at the shop, no call, no knock, just like always. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, face hard. "You happy now?" I wiped my hands, didn't answer. She stepped closer. "You made your sister cry. You embarrassed this family. And now they're scrambling to fix what you broke." I looked at her. "Is that what you think I did? Broke something?" She snapped. "You took the car. You pulled your money. You shut everyone out like you're some saint who never got anything wrong." I held her gaze. "You're right," I said. "I did shut you out, finally." She blinked. I kept going. "You all made it clear. If I didn't like the rules, I could leave the game. So I did. I'm not playing anymore." She hesitated, then softened. "Look, the wedding can still happen. Jason's parents might reconsider. We just need to show them we're unified." I laughed. A dry, hollow sound. "Unity isn't what you say after the damage is done." She looked around the shop, eyes landing on the new hydraulic lift. "What's that?" she asked. I turned to it. "My reward," I said, for choosing myself. She left without another word. That evening, I closed the shop early, first time in a year. I didn't say why, didn't post about it, just turned off the lights, locked the door, and got in the truck. I drove until the city lights disappeared, until the road was empty and the trees lined the horizon like a promise. Then I pulled over, got out, and walked into the woods with a small box under my arm. Inside were old pictures. Emmy's graduation. Jason shaking my hand, the 4 of us at Christmas. I stood in a clearing, lit a match, and watched the box catch fire, one by one. Then I walked back to the truck and didn't look back. 3 months passed. Silent birthdays, no happy posts, no group chat notifications, all gone. One Christmas morning, I arrived at the shop to find a freshly painted wall and a new sign overhead, "Now hiring, apprentices welcome." Today, the letters felt heavier, more than business. They spelled purpose. At noon, a local newspaper reporter showed up unannounced. "Why now?" he asked, raising his notebook. I looked at the sign, at the empty parking spots, and at the lift humming quietly in the back. "I teach those no one expects," I said, "but those who build for themselves." He nodded, scribbled. That moment wasn't for headlines. It was for me. That afternoon, a woman in scrubs walked in, a nurse, mid-career, her car breaking down before her second shift. She watched me fix a brake caliper, then asked if she could learn. A week later, she was an apprentice. Turns out, she was the nurse who cared for my grandfather when he had that heart scare, the same day I dropped everything. She remembered my name. I remembered her gratitude. Sometimes the unexpected apprentice comes from someone who once helped you. Later that week, a client, handpicked from regulars, handed me the keys after an inspection and said, "You don't know what you lost, but you understand what you built." I just smiled. I didn't lose. I just parked somewhere else. We squinted at each other, oil blotting the concrete around us, a nod, a shake of the head. He paid in cash and tipped too much. He knew. A text arrived out of the blue. Jason's parents bailed, the venue canceled, reps said it's financially off. Rumor is Emmy asked for the car back, insurance declined it, and now they're rewriting wills. I didn't open the links, didn't search her name. This time I let it stay outside. The wedding crashed, the facade gone. The silence around it spoke louder than any ceremony. One evening I closed the shop early, something I'd never done. I drove out of town, parked in a clearing where only a single bus stop light glowed. In my old duffel, wrapped in a rag, was the ribbon from the Sedan I once gave her. I tied it around a rock at the base of a pine, stone by stone. Then I whispered, "No regrets, just miles." I climbed back into the truck. 3 days later, a friend from college, long out of touch, sent an email. "Hey man, I saw what you did, and I'm sorry about your sister. But if you're ever up for a beer, I own a small cafe, so there's always a seat." I blinked, a sudden warmth in my chest. Later that week, I walked into that cafe. He greeted me behind the counter, not with questions, but with a handshake and a seat. He didn't ask about family. We just talked cars, old mixtapes, dreams. Sometimes closure comes from someone letting you off the hook. I started holding weekend community clinics, free oil changes for senior citizens in old sedans, tire checks for single mothers buying their first car. That sign now reads more than words. It's a mission. Saturday evening, shop dark, lift off, tools silent. I walked outside, got into my old faded pickup, smoke drifting from the exhaust. I put an old cassette tape into the dash. The radio crackled. A classic song started soft. I rolled the window down, took a deep breath, backed out of the lot. Not angry, not sad, just calm. For the first time, I felt at peace. Miles ahead now, 1 mile at a time, and I drove on. 3 months passed. The shop was running smoother than ever. The lift I traded the car for was paying off. I had 3 apprentices now. One of them, Louise, brought donuts every Friday. She reminded me of me when I first started, grease under the nails, hungry to learn, hungry for something more. One morning my phone vibrated, pulling me from my routine. The screen flashed a name I hadn't seen in months, Mom. Her text was brief, almost dismissive. "Family barbecue this Saturday. Emmy and Jason will be there. Come if you feel like it. We'd love to have you." No hint of remorse, no acknowledgement of the engagement dinner sting, no mention of the car, or the words that cut deeper than I'd admitted. I reread it, my thumb hovering over the reply button. I could have gone, forced a smile, chewed tough ribs, and shaken Jason's hand like the past didn't exist. But that version of me, the one who swallowed hurt to keep peace, was gone. I set the phone down, untouched. Instead, I dialed Grandpa. "Boat still ready?" I asked, voice steady. He didn't pry, just answered, "She's waiting in the water. I'll grab the bait." That Saturday, while they gathered around a grill, laughing as if the cracks in our family were invisible, I was 30 miles away on a lake. The air was crisp, the water a perfect mirror reflecting the sky's soft hues. Grandpa and I sat side by side, fishing rods idle on our knees, the trolling motor's low hum blending with the quiet. It wasn't the silence of resentment. It was the kind that mends, that wraps around you like a warm blanket. We didn't speak much, just let the stillness do the talking, the kind of peace I hadn't felt in months. We didn't talk for a while, just cast, reeled, waited. Then he broke the silence. "You know," he said, eyes on the line, "I've seen a lot of families fall apart. Pride gets loud, but sometimes forgiveness just whispers." I didn't answer right away. I watched the sun flicker on the surface, thought about that engagement dinner, about the way my sister looked at me when her fiancé's friends mocked the car I bought, about how she joined in, about how no one said anything, not even Mom or Dad, just silence, like that was okay. I didn't walk away because I was angry, I finally said. I walked away because I was invisible. He nodded, reeled in slow. "Still," he said, "sometimes even invisible people get invited back." I smiled, but it didn't reach all the way. We didn't catch much that day, just a couple of bass and a tan line, but I hadn't felt that hole in a long time. As we reached the dock, Grandpa and I secured the boat, our hands moving in quiet sync, tying the ropes with practiced ease. I climbed into my truck, the keys cold in my palm, and sat there, the day's calm still settling in my bones. I pulled out my phone, opened Mom's message again, its words stark and unyielding. I stared, feeling the weight of it, then deleted it with a single tap, the screen going blank. I drove home, the road stretching out under a fading sky. That night, in the garage, I stood before the new lift, its steel gleaming under the fluorescent glow. A note from Louise was taped to its side, her handwriting neat. "Thank you for showing me the right way to do things. You're the only one who ever believed I could do this." I read it twice. a warmth spreading in my chest, then folded it carefully and slipped it into my wallet next to the worn leather where I kept things that mattered. Then I sat on the steps outside the shop, crickets singing in the dark. I kept thinking about what Grandpa said, that maybe I didn't have to forgive them, but maybe I could learn how to live without the weight of it. So, here's my question. If your family finally opens the door again but never says, "I'm sorry," do you walk back through it, or do you keep driving 1 mile at a time,